Good day. Welcome to The Leader's Edge. And today it's season 10, episode 12, the season ender. And remember, in the previous episode, we had Eric Riego de Dios talk about the sublime power of rest. But today, we're going the other direction. We're going to talk about fitness for leaders. And our guest for today is somebody who has earned the right to talk about this because he is a safety officer too, a volunteer firefighter, been doing that for 9 years, a corporate facilitator, an emergency medical responder, personal trainer, and former gym trainer. Not only that, a Muay Thai instructor, a duathlete, a trail runner, an adventure race and obstacle course competitor, a Dragonboat crew member, and from time to time he has done force on force training with our SAF as well as our Airborne. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the virtual stage none other than Joselito Con Abraham. Con?
Thank you, Dino. Nice to be here again. A second time.
That's right. I recall our first discussion was about how to make emergency training more usable, more reliable. And today we're going to talk about fitness for leaders. So as we begin our discussion, I wanted to ask you first, how old are you now, Con?
I'm going to ask you. Make a guess.
Oh, let's see,
Go ahead.
40,
Excellent.
46, 47.
Come on, you're pulling my leg. I'm 51.
Oh, 51. No, I couldn't tell. And that's only because you keep yourself in such good shape. Now, I know that your obsession with fitness began at an early age. Could you take us on a journey? How did it all begin for you? Why did you become very much concerned with being fit?
Okay. Actually, it's not an obsession. It has now been adapted as a lifestyle. And it really started as, in a way, okay, are you ready for this? I started be interested in running in order for me as a young kid in elementary days to avoid doing house chores. Because if you're bound at home, you're bound to do some house chores, and those house chores are really laborious. And that's why, I had to do some in the guise of running at our place just to avoid doing house chores. And from that on, it I became interested in it, like, hey, this running thing, it's not really tiring. It's more fun to do it. And I didn't know right now in the future that what I'm experiencing back then was an influx of dopamine. So until now, still searching for that shot of dopamine. That's why I became interested in being active, and it turned into sports competition and developing more.
Now, it does seem to work that you not only ran away from the chores, but you ran towards becoming fit, which is a
Yes.
wonderful coincidence. So, in other words, it was a serendipitous adventure for you because
Yes.
it helped you start at an early age to become concerned about fitness. But you're not just into running. I know that you're into
Yes.
many things. The variety is, in fact, very impressive. What happened there? Were you searching for the perfect activity, or did you simply just want to try new things?
Actually, that's the thing when you get into being active, it's like the dopamine gets injected, the dopamine is produced, and from that on, you tend to search more to do more activities per se, and at the same time, the idea of challenging yourself. So from running, since my brother brought back then, we used to have this really old school made of what lead pipes made for water pipes bike back then. So I knew how to ride the bike. Then in the late 80s, my brother bought his first hardtail mountain bike. And so I'm doing now the usual running, just the jogging thing. And when he brought his first mountain bike in the late 80s, I said like, hey, that's a mountain bike. That's a good thing. That's a good bike to ride. And the idea is that I'm not just going to ride it. And since back then in Manila Bulletin, there's a advertisement for a race. I said, hey, I'm gonna join this. It's my first time. It's my first time to be exposed to competition. But I just wanted to ride this bike. I'm going to ride it. It was from Mega Mall to Taal Vista Lodge in Tagaytay. So it's a 70-kilometer road race. From the bike, I started to meet other sports aficionados, outdoor enthusiasts. Then I was exposed to rock climbing in Wawa Montalban. And from rock climbing, I started to meet other guys who are into sport climbing. Power Up Tandansora. It was the first sport climbing facility in Metro Manila. So I also joined the first national sport climbing competition and also the first national open rock climbing competition. Then from the rock climbing community, I was seeing this guy who was riding his bike to go to the site, and at the side of his bike there was this paddle. I said, "It's a paddle for it's urban." I said, I'm a member of a Dragonboat crew." I said, "I wanted that. I wanted to be I wanted to be a member of the Dragonboat crew." So back then, I wasn't able to pursue that. I only pursued it because through social media, I had to search it in Facebook. So in 2013, I joined the my Dragonboat team, which is AMPI, Amateur Paddlers Philippines. And also, I joined the others. Before the OCR, it was called Adventure Race. So the 90s Adventure Race in Wawa Montalban. And Merrell also provided that, the Merrell Adventure Race series. Then came the Thrill of the Trail North Face, then the Duathlon of the Lift soft drinks, and also the Duathlon of Columbia. I did the two series of Columbia. And from that on, I still continue to find other sports. I also got interested in flag football in UP. I just approached the guys who were there doing their thing at UP Sunken Garden. I just approached the nearest guy. Said, "Can I join?" Sure. Talk to the coach. Sure. And what else? And archery also through Rex Villarosa. It was fun because the archery I got interested watching the first season of Walking Dead. It was like, hey, that redneck guy. it's it was cool seeing a guy use the art bow and arrow. So I got into archery. So and currently I'm into compound exercises and calisthenics, and by next year my target will I'll be doing the gymnastic rings. So another step up level, seeing the capability of my that's me.
So, for our viewers' benefit, I'd also like to let everybody know that Con summited Mount Apo in 2012, and he has joined the SAF on one of their forced marches, which was with a backpack and a rifle. And if I recall, that was a total distance of how far? 72 kilometers?
56.
Oh, sorry,
56
56
kilometers.
kilometers.
Yes.
And
Signal number one rain.
and during a storm. So Con also is fond of participating in airsoft activities, and in other words, when he sees a physical event that seems challenging, he wants to try it. And so here is a man who, at the age of 51, looks no more than in his mid 40s. And how much do you weigh today, Con? Would you mind sharing that with us?
I'm 5'5", and ideal weight for me is 120, 125 to 130. So currently I'm doing 130. And I could do pull-ups for 12 good reps. 120, 130 clean pull-ups.
Wonderful. And if you don't mind, what's your waistline?
29. And
Oh.
sometimes, well, when I had this only wings, 30.
But that's only after you've had a full meal. Okay. So
Yes.
mm. Now, I just wanted to let you share all of that to underscore the fact that we are having, or we're having this discussion with somebody who has certainly earned the right to talk about how to stay fit, because he has exposed himself to some very high intensity activities, and yet he's also cognizant and aware of what low intensity exercises are. And that's why now I'd like to take our discussion over to how this can benefit leaders of organizations, leaders of groups, leaders of teams of various ages, because I'm sure you'll agree not everybody can do what you've done. So let's begin with the youngest. If say we're dealing with, say, a Gen Z or a millennial, what would you recommend for a leader who is at that age, to stay fit?
Okay. So let me rephrase it. If the leader is like, my youngest trainee currently is age 11. So, so you're asking me if how I'm going to approach a leader at age 11. Is that
No,
correct?
the age 11 is way too young.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
talking about
Okay.
professional, somebody who's
I
already
see, I see, I see, I
working,
see.
say, for example, for a BPO, or say a bank, and he is a fresh grad, maybe 23, 24,
I
or
see, I
even
see,
somebody who's already a supervisor
I
in charge
see.
of teams. Uh,
Okay.
what can somebody like that do? What would be ideal?
Actually, uh, the a teacher, a professor in UP, she was a girl, and I think her her teaching is about chemicals, because she's like what do you call that, who mixes ingredients,
Oh,
chemist.
maybe she's a chemistry teacher.
Yes, yes, she was age 23, if I remember her name, Monica. So from age 23, also a professor at UP, and who also does do sideline consultancy. And my latest is a 30-year-old emergency medicine doctor. Okay. It all depends. It all depends on their physique and their current state of health condition. So I couldn't give like a off the shelf. It all depends on the situation of the person. So maybe you can ask me a situation like if this.
Okay, fair enough. Con, how
Mhm.
about this? Let's think in terms of if a person isn't inclined nor will have the time to join a fitness club. What can a person like that, a leader, do in his office or in his home without weights, without
Mm.
special equipment?
Mm.
What would you recommend?
Okay, is consistency. So aside from that, is building this their own mindset. It's sometimes I would do this shock and awe. I'm going to say like, in the future, how are you going to see yourself? Are you going to see yourself as lethargic, although a leader, or as someone who is still a leader and still active? Try to visualize that. So I'm going to give them motivation to have that mindset. Then I'm going to encourage them to have a consistent activity that they should do, because it's really hard for anyone to be so consistent. In order for you to overcome that that procrastination of being inconsistent, you should be able to have something to do that you can consistently, regularly do. And from that, I'm going to suggest first is walking. Because if you can overcome walking, a consistent program of walking, like for example, 7 o'clock, you can do 30 minutes walking in your condominium grounds, or perhaps even at your own place that you find safe and it's enough challenging to do, please do walking. Then from walking, you're going to progress. Someone or anyone should be able to overcome their procrastination and inculcate in their mind that consistency. From consistency, we can progress.
So you are, for example, saying that they shouldn't have to obsess with parking as close as possible to their office.
No, no.
So if they can walk
Yes,
to the
yes,
office
yes,
a block or two away,
yes,
are you also saying that maybe they should eschew the elevators and then just walk up the stairs if they can handle that?
yes. Because it builds slowly that mindset, that idea of breaking out of your comfort zone. Because if you're going to like count it in increments, it will still build that idea of pushing yourself, the walking thing, from for example from going to from workplace, then going to the convenience store, instead of asking the maintenance guy or assistants to buy your refreshments. You can walk from there and go back to office, and at the same time, the 3 story, instead of using the elevator, why not use it? Those are incremental efforts, and at the same time beneficial. And then if that person was able to produce a good amount of dopamine for themselves, it will be helpful for them to translate it to continue doing that, what I'm suggesting, the walking thing. And it will really help them. Incrementals are really helpful in order to have that still consistent idea of doing things regularly.
How do you feel about, say, corporate sponsored events like Zumba sessions in the office, or say hourly 15-minute calisthenics in place, where they're sitting? Some offices do that. They'll just sound an alert,
Yes.
and everybody stands up and exercises for about 15 minutes. So like maybe an hour could be spent 50 minutes working and then 10 minutes exercising. This is just to promote wellness. How do you feel about those?
Actually, it's passive. People will just do it just for the sake, but they won't really understand. It's like, if you want to be a leader, you yourself, you yourself should be able to lead yourself. You cannot tell like, hey, Dean, it's like this. Definitely, you're not going to take me as your guest if just I just walk to MRT. That's that's not acceptable credentials. I need to show, or a leader should be able to show that his credentials can really manifest into something. At the same time, be an example to their subordinates. So a person should be really self-motivated, and at the same time, maybe an external factor, like for example a short seminar or like a 1 hour walkthrough, just to give them idea, catalyst, so to speak. And from there, adjust and modify the program based on the tempo of the person. It's like encouraging them, at the same time also challenging them, and at the same time telling them these are really the benefits. I have to just to say this, because I always say this in all of my trainees. Forget the popular, the social media, because it's not as far as I can say realistic for them to follow, because they're focusing more on clouds rather than really focusing on them, on different person's capability. Okay.
All right. So I think you're referring to, say, some of the popular things that have been going on Facebook, for example,
Yes, yes, yes.
challenging people to the 20 push-ups a day, sort
Uh,
of a thing. I think what you're implying is that they do something that has a definite duration that makes a difference. So let me be specific on,
mm,
um, for relatively young people, what would be optimal in terms of duration so that they can get some benefits out of exercise?
okay. Are we talking if they have the capability to enroll in a gym or just at home workout?
I'm referring to without equipment,
Ah,
just
without equipment.
yeah,
Okay.
on their own,
Okay.
because we're trying to say, get fit without
Okay.
having to go through the trouble of driving to a
Okay.
gym
Okay.
or buying equipment. What can they do even at work or at home to be consistent about it, because then they
Okay.
wouldn't have to depend on
Okay.
equipment.
For at home scenario, definitely I would suggest body weights exercise. If you can, if you are able to do body weights exercise, it also goes to the idea that you should be able to consistently do it to see the benefits. So for at home scenario, body weight exercise. Body weight exercise doesn't need any equipment. Okay. The body weight and the calisthenics sometimes really has the thin line because it's like body weight, you don't need equipment, literally just your body. Calisthenics is body weights using minimum equipment. And say minimum equipment, pull-up bar, parallettes, yoga block. That's about
So you're talking about fairly low intensity activities. In other words, things that anybody can do.
actually I had to correct that. Not really low intensity, but gradual to progression. Because I've noticed that even in the certain uh, mainstream media, they've been showing low intensity, which is okay. They're promoting exercise, but at the same time, they're promoting low intensity, which is ideal for geriatrics, which is not ideal for younger generations. It's there's a disconnection. So it's not really low intensity, gradual, high intensity. By the time they reach the high intensity, definitely the consistency is there, the progression is there, they're regularly producing dopamine. And at the same time, this their physique, the news about them of consistently doing something which is like hard for any normal people, it will make an impact, will make an influence to their friends, to their subordinates, because you cannot question someone who is proven, who shows to their subordinates that they can do it.
Yes, Con.
Okay.
So when you talk about social media exercise, I suppose you're talking about fads that don't really work. So when you talk about duration and the release of dopamine, are you therefore saying that people need to exercise for longer, more useful durations, especially if they're young and fit enough?
Yes, definitely, definitely. Aside from boosting their cardiovascular, this is a factoid. If you increase your oxygen intake, the brain cells are going to produce more brain sacs, SACs, in order to produce more brain cells. That's why creativity is more boosted if you're having this good influx of oxygen to your brain. And at the same time, the idea of producing again dopamine and the I forget the other term, the
Oh, the other hormones would be endorphins, which is
yes,
released after,
endorphins.
yeah,
Yes.
after 30
It
minutes.
also, yes, it also enhances creativity. Because if you have a clear mind and you have this feel good feelings, all of those creative juices will be flowing. So it definitely would help. It definitely.
Mm. Is there truth to the formula of, say, using the number 220 minus your age as the ideal number of beats per minute for a person?
Actually, I don't want to go to that technical because we tend to nitpick instead of really focusing on what's really important. What's really important is doing and moving and doing something that would definitely benefit your body. Focus more on the program, focus more on the reps, focus more on the form and posture.
Okay, so if we say that working out in the office or at home is doable because you
Mhm,
use your own weight, this
mhm,
implies things like burpees, push-ups, planks,
mhm, mhm.
possibly even, say, jogging in place, or even some mild form of Pilates. I mean, these are all things that anybody can do, right? Hmm. Now let's move on to another aspect of fitness for leaders, and that is what they eat. Um,
Ah, yes.
How do you feel about diet and what our young people are eating today?
Okay. I'm speaking from experience because I reached 51 without any maintenance. And I'm the one who would go to the wet market to buy some produce. And definitely I've seen the benefits. And definitely it's sustainable. When I say sustainable, you can regularly buy it. And at the same time, you're not being too conscious of the price for it because it's cheap and affordable. So for the diet, it's like this. If you're an active person, it's okay to eat rice because it's been like, like given a demonize the rice thing. It's really important because it will definitely carbohydrates is important in nutrition, especially if you're active. It's like do not starve yourself, especially if your work is high intensity. Because I had a trainee back then. They were like what do you call this? This intern at Veterans Memorial Medical. Is it correct? Because they're just practicing. They're just intern. Is that the term? Anyway? When they talked to me, they were given this really crude small portions because this is the nutrition thing. Because what happened is that they become grumpy and at the same time demotivated because it's not nourishing them. It's not feeding because the level of their work is high intense because of the long shifts and at the same time the stress. And this is only the energy of the food that's been given to them does not compensate to their energy. So for me, I'm going to say that it may be old school, but it's effective because I've been practicing it. It's my best practice. I'm seeing the benefits. So go for the rice, the green leafy vegetables, the lean meat. It's okay to eat chicken. It's okay to eat meat, beef, pork. Just remove the the fats, chicken skin, the the slab of the fats of the pork and the beef, then the usual, the fish, then have a banana. No need to, as far as I can say, because it's expensive. Because I'm also looking at the financial capability of the person to continuously buy this nutritious food, the whole foods. It's okay to eat regularly banana because it's cheaper than avocado. It's okay if you can afford avocado, why not? Regularly have banana because banana also gives you potassium, which is also important to the body. And it's aside from inexpensive, the banana, any banana, lakatan, latundan, and the saba, it's also good. Uh, banana. I'm sorry, apple, because in order for you to have this always upbeat instead of consuming more cups of coffee, go for the apple because the apple perks you up. So again, vegetables, green leafy vegetables, fruits as dessert, rice, it's all good. Fish, seafood, the animal products, animal meat, just remove the fats. Then continuously consume that and regularly maintain your like 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock p.m. Because if you like have your lunch like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, sometimes it will be detrimental because the body, because in the morning, it's your body will be using a lot of energy, and at the same time it cannot continuously go to the afternoon without replenishing itself. So being observant on lunchtime, on dinner, it's really important. Be consistent.
Okay, so I
Yes.
get what you're saying, that one of the things that I seem to get from you is you simply avoid processed food, because I haven't heard you
Yes.
mention
Yes.
canned foods like
Yes. Yes.
Vienna sausage or spam.
Yes. Processed foods. Yes.
So we need to avoid processed food and go for
Yes.
fresh wet market ingredients that can be
Yes.
turned into healthy
Whole
healthy
foods.
foods. Yeah.
Yes.
So Con, let's move.
Inexpensive also.
Okay, so it's
Expensive.
affordable. So Con, let's go on to say older people, like say Gen
Mhm,
Xers or say baby boomers.
mhm.
Um, at their stage in life, they probably have range of motion issues, and many of them will probably be on maintenance medicines. What would you recommend for those kinds of leaders to stay healthy?
Okay. First off, it's already given. Some of them will be having this maintenance. The idea is focus on the full foods. If, for example, my friend, I have to mention Homer because he's limited at the same time because of his conditions. Sometimes whenever we have to go out, when say out of town, I would tell him that it's okay for him to eat the foods that the doctors is not recommending for him to eat because he needs to eat because we're outdoor. He needs to be nourished because if you deplete the body will going to shut down itself. It's because it's situation. Now going back to the to what you said and in the urban settings, again, whole foods, just like what I mentioned, avoid processed foods, avoid junk foods, and focus on the lean meats, avoid the fats. Now, the limited range of motion, it's like this because I had a situation in the I have to mention this grass residences gym and also at altitude fitness studio. The idea is that the mind and body connection. If, for example, like you, Dina, I'm going to make an example. If you've been consistently told by your family or by your friends, or you have observed it like, this is limited range of motion, or I cannot do this, definitely your body, your mind will follow it. That's the purpose of trainer or a coach, and at the same time, this is the purpose of this podcast to have that clarity, to be empowered, to be educated. The range of motion for any sedentary, for any boomers, for any Gen Xers will resume back again because of what? Training, the exercise. Because it's gradually progressing. So definitely I encourage it because it will they can overcome that immobility, that inflammation in the joints by consistently using their joints, their body, their muscles. Because as the saying goes, if you don't use it, you lose it.
It took the words right out of my mouth. So, Con, um, we know that there are a lot of other fads going around, like, for example, intermittent fasting. What's your take on that, especially for those who are concerned about eating right?
Okay, it's not for everyone. I have to say that downright. It's not for everyone. And if the leader is on a high tempo, stressful, taxing work, and at the same time, uh, longer hours, intermittent fasting is not for you. It's like, again, this is your body, and you need to have that fuel. The fuel is the food. If you're not putting any fuel to your machine, to the, for example, your SUV, is the machine going to move longer distance? Definitely not. Again, going back to the simple idea, intermittent fasting is not for everyone. Intermittent fasting is for those who has certain medical conditions, who in their workplace or at the same time at their house, they do not have a high tempo from their jobs. And for the dieting thing, again, become a fat. It's like diet is a term for those who has medical conditions because you can only eat certain food. Now the nutrition is a word which is ideal for anyone who doesn't have any ailments or medical or physical liability. Like between us, we will be using the term nutrition instead that I'm on a diet because I'm not sick. You're not sick. So to use the word diet, the word for us is nutrition. I'm on a good meal nutrition, not telling that, I'm on the diet because I'm not sick.
I'd like to bring up this pertinent point with Con because I know that he avoids soft drinks. He has
Yes.
not touched a single drop of soda or alcohol for the longest time that I've known him. Uh, Con, a quick
Mhm.
question: why should anybody avoid soda and alcohol at all?
Okay. I hope I don't get canceled about this. Aside from the caffeine, the the bone density, the atrophy of the bone is caused by food, soda. It's already given. And at the same time, it also increases your, actually it's not increases or you're susceptible. It will really help alleviate, or it will really increase your chance of uh, diabetes and also weight gain, belly bulge. And at the same time, fortunately, teeth, the enamel.
And so
That's,
you have studiously avoided anything
yes.
but water, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Juice, the one that you can mix because it's diluted in like purified water. That's all. That's fine because we sometimes, if we just deplete ourselves of all this really guilty pleasures food, life's not going to be
Mhm.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
The idea is that we just put everything in a situation.
Mhm. Although I will say that on occasion, Con will treat himself to some milk tea. Um,
Yes.
and so
Yes. I'm
it's
living.
one of the few things that he allows himself to enjoy. But I suppose you do this rarely, right?
Yes, as a form of reward every month. Like for example, the during uh, a several batches of online meetings, online Zoom workshops. After the whole batches of Zoom workshops, yes, I treated myself to some milk tea. So it's a treat rather than I just want it every now and then.
Mm. So just to help our viewers understand these many points that Con is making of the right mindset of eating right and being consistent, we need to also remember that at 51 he is still on the roster of volunteer firemen. And so if you can imagine, the average fireman will be wearing clothes that are very hot and heavy, to begin with, and then the oxygen tank at the back, and then the axe to break in. Uh, just as out of curiosity, would you consider yourself one of the older or oldest volunteer firefighters? I mean, what is the average age for a firefighter anyway?
Well, I'm speaking for the volunteers, okay? The
Mm.
average firefighters 19, 18. Then the ones who are like 40s to 50s, uh, they're more concerned of the command and control, and at the same time, um, the directing where the younger firefighters or the other firefighters uh, will be going to the certain situations or locations of the fire scene. So
Mm.
about let's just say 18 years old to max of 40s to late 40s. And it's also a dedication if you want to carry a axe because it's a 10-pound axe.
Mm.
And at the same like for me, I I volunteered myself to be a breacher. So what does a breacher do? A breacher do is penetrate any known obstacles, wall, doors, windows, locks, anything as long as we can get through. And that demands a lot to the body because as far as I can say, you only have at the most, okay, 2 minutes to be able to penetrate something because time is really crucial during a fire scene. And sometimes you have to do that. You have to do all those taxing works of breaking continuously the penetrating the obstacle, all to, all the while wearing this skiba, self-contained breathing apparatus, the helmet, the gloves, the bunker, the upper garments. At the same time, if you're soaked with water, everything turns heavy. And at the same time, the limited oxygen because everything's burning, everything is smelling bad because of the carcinogenic effect of the burning furnishings and whatnot. It doesn't really help. And it helps if you're fit.
So I got an insight that I got from you earlier, as you talked about, is that you regard food and eating well as also good for morale. And so, if a
Yes,
leader eats enough to keep himself happy, then he tends to lead in a happier way, I suppose.
yes, yes,
Mm.
yes, yes. At the same
So,
time, any leader can really preach or give advice to their subordinates who are like always into this, junk food, guilty pleasures, food to change the lifestyle.
mm,
The leader can impact because the leader itself is leading by example.
yeah,
That
okay.
will.
Mm. So leading by example. So Con, when we talk about what say a boomer or a Gen Xer can do, um, is this something that is there some value to say apart from walking up and down the stairs and walking to and from say where they're parked, to have say consciously have in their minds a decision to have walking meetings instead of sit down meetings, for example. How do you feel about a person's willingness or a person's desire to really be fit by just avoiding sitting down for long periods?
Okay. So from that idea, I would really still suggest do physical exercise because a leader or anyone who is going to their prime age, the middle age, is that any person should avoid sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is the degenerative loss of muscle because once the muscle starts to wilt, you're susceptible now to any form of disease because the skin, a good lean muscles is our protection. And currently, most of my trainees, most of who do ask me in the gym, I would really suggest them for them to lift weights since they have the they have the access to a good decent gym at the condo, is in order for them to lift weight. Now, for the leaders who can do this only at home, I would really suggest for them to start incrementally in body weights exercise, because it will be really helpful. At the same time, just imagine I'm going to throw this to any leaders, young or old. It's really good to have a fit body to in order for you to have that chronic disease, like sometimes arthritis, or even just walking to the meeting room that two-story, and you're not gasping for air. It will definitely moving body weights exercises, gradual exercises, progressive exercises for them. It will be beneficial to a leader, young.
Okay, so again, we emphasize the value of leading by example. In other words, if you want the rest of the team or your other one down or two down leaders to stay fit, that you would have to be the model yourself. Is there anybody you can cite, Con, in the corporate world that you admire because of the way that at their age they were still incredibly fit? Do you know anybody like that?
Okay. But back then in the 90s to the early 2000s, David Salon, the owner, David's, the Caucasian guy, I competed with him in the several trail runs and also adventure race. Also, the this certain Ayala
Yeah,
guy.
the Don Jaime Zobel, I think,
No, the younger one,
the
the one who
younger
looks
one, or would that be
as
Enrique?
far uh, because this is the crush of my sister. Anyway, he looks like a version of George Clooney. This Ayala guy
Right.
who looks like
Hmm. And I think I recall.
you know.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think I recall you said that you saw him run past you in a
yes.
marathon.
Specifically in the north face trail of the trail at Nuvali.
Mm.
Because remember my sister like, Ricon, yeah, yeah, like, can I have a picture with him taken? Go ahead. Yes.
Mm.
I really admire that guy locally.
Mm.
Yes.
And Con, just to resonate with you, a lot of companies are now shifting their have shifted their focus into fitness. For example, Unilab, who is known to sponsor so many health minded activities like marathons,
Mm. Mm.
or fun runs, right?
Mhm.
So even when you go to visit their offices, they serve salads rather than say
Yes.
junk food. So any message for those who are enjoying binge watching too much and just sitting down? What would be a good way to overcome inertia? Maybe in 2 minutes, Con. What would you say?
Okay. Downright, I'm going to say this. Get a hold of your life. Netflix is not your life. Get out of the couch. Do something really beneficial, because in the end, in the long run, and I could say this with gusto, and I could say this with bravado, with conviction, it's better for you to be healthy than spending all your earnings. You may be with copious amount of money, but at the same time, that money just goes to the medicine, just goes to the maintenance medicine, just goes to the hospital visit. There's a better thing to do than binge watching. Go out, do body weights exercise, do calisthenics, do use your environment at home, because most of the leaders that I know resides in condo, resides in gated community. Their place is wonderful. Use that at your benefit. Netflix or binge watching any live streaming platform, use that as a reward for your effort to do body weights exercise. Like for example, After a week of bodyweight exercise, go do finish 3 episodes because it's your reward. It's not your way of life. It's a reward.
Thank you so much for that, Con. And so, as we come to the end of this particular episode, are there resources or, say, websites that you could maybe cite or mention for our viewers to look at so that they can get more ideas about routines that they could do? Or how do they reach you so that they can maybe ask you for a program?
Okay, this is what I'm offering to anyone. If we can get 100 likes, if we can get past through 100 views of this, I'll gladly make a program for the first, like, let's say 10 who would post in the comments for any young leaders or for anyone who would like to have a tailor fit program for them. So if we can get 100 likes or 100, more than 100 views for them, definitely I'm going to help them out. That's their way of reaching out to me by subscribing and at the same time commenting on the links down.
Wow, that's certainly a generous offer from Con. And so, as we come to the end of this episode, I'd like to thank him in behalf of my co hosts and the members of the team of the Leader's Edge. Thank you so much, Con, for taking time out. I know you just came from the gym, in fact, before
Yes.
you joined us. Um so, if you like the content of what we discussed today, and see, the points were, as you said, is have the right mindset, be consistent, eat right, reward yourself from time to time. Don't deprive yourself of the food that you like because it improves your morale, which improves the way that you manage people. So, fitness and leadership is about staying healthy as well as having a good morale so you can project this as you handle others below you. So remember to do click on like, share, and subscribe. And as Con offered, if you can get 100 people to click on like on this particular episode, he will gladly write a program for your development, for your growth. Our next guest is going to be Joel Canindin on a topic called Lifelong Learner. That'll be for season 11, episode 1. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as ever, remember that learning is a never ending journey with limitless vistas. Good day.